growth story for the economies in the world is still a much better growth story. The projected growth levels of the economies of most of Asia in general, and the story is again and again that the sort of disposable income levels or the earning levels in China and India are now approaching that point where you're expecting a huge boom in consumption levels because people actually have disposable income. They're going out and spending a couple $1,000s a year, which wasn't happening 5 years ago. So obviously that's just a good sign in general for the economies and ultimately for the media players as well. Fox brands, the Star brands, the National Geographic brands. But ultimately, we have to continually localize that content. It's international content, but we have to dub it, subtitle it, package it, market it in a way to make it locally relevant because we're competing against, local TV industries that are getting better and better and better. So, there's a tendency for the viewer to spend more time on the local channels, and the only way for the international channels to compete and stay relevant is to become more locally relevant as well, whether it's hostings or whatever it is, to tie it back to the local culture. In the US, you see DirecTV, obviously, and EchoStar with hundreds of HD channel offerings. I think it's here to stay in most of the Asian countries as well. Sure, in Japan you have a sizable number of households, 3 or 4 million households that are already receiving HD channels, cable channels. But I'm pretty sure everywhere, in Taiwan, the cable's launching HD aggressively, Hong Kong, Singapore, now India's getting into the game, Indonesia will be in the game soon, Malaysia in the game soon, Korea's already very, very much there. So I think the idea of having a large number of HD channels is becoming very important to platforms. A few years ago they wanted to have perfect HD channels. Now it's a little bit, maybe you don't have to have the Dolby 5.1, but as long as you have the HD picture 80–90% of the time, that's good enough, and get the volume of channels in there. So it is a change for us. It's a change for everybody. Yeah. We feel we've had the benefit on, say, National Geographic side and even the baby TV side where we produce most of our content and therefore own rights that go beyond the broadcast rights. So we can offer SVOD, VOD, and other online ways to receive our brands and those contents. On the Fox side, it's always been a bigger challenge because we buy from the studios, license from the studios, and they're always giving you fairly limited rights. But increasingly we're moving, especially on the Fox side, we're actually moving into investing a lot of these drama production owned rights that extended beyond the regular rights. So we had terrestrial rights in some cases, non-linear VOD and other rights. So we're actually beginning to try and build a library of content that goes beyond just the traditional cable and satellite rights. I think the price of content ultimately, or the price per channel, whatever, has come down, so the ability to offer a larger bouquet, and I think ultimately the consumer actually appreciates choice. I mean, one of the reasons you take pay television is for choice. Now, you may have 200 channels of which you don't like a lot of them, but you still need 30 or 40 you do like in order to make that investment in pay television. I think he will focus very much on how we need to take advantage of our global scale as having these brands that are global, and there are certain benefits you get in terms of producing content, buying content, and creating brands at a global level, but at the same time you have to be very local. And I think he's very much against sort of getting stuck somewhere in the middle.